The day my husky disappeared, my sister didn't scream, cry, or panic. She sat on the couch, scrolling on her phone, and said the words that would change my life forever. He ran away. I remember staring at her, waiting for the rest of the sentence, waiting for urgency, fear, guilt, something. But nothing came. She said it the same way someone might say they ran out of milk. Calm. Flat. Finished. My husky, Storm, wasn't the kind of dog who ran away. Storm was loud, dramatic, stubborn, and fiercely loyal. He followed me everywhere like my shadow. If I stood up, he stood up. If I walked toward the door, he was already there, tail sweeping the floor, blue eyes locked on me. Huskies are known for independence, but Storm was different. He waited. He watched. He trusted. I had left town for 3 days for work and asked my sister to watch him. She agreed without hesitation. She even smiled and said she'd handle everything. I believed her. She was my sister. Who would ever imagine betrayal coming from family? When I got home, the house felt wrong immediately. Too quiet. No claws clicking on the floor. No dramatic howling announcing my return. I called his name once. Then again. Louder. My heart started racing before my brain caught up. That's when she said it. He ran away. I dropped my bag and ran outside barefoot. I searched the street, the empty lot, the alley where Storm liked to sniff trash like it was a treasure hunt. I yelled his name until my throat burned. Neighbors peeked through windows. Some shook their heads sympathetically. Others avoided eye contact. My sister stayed inside. She said she'd left the gate open by mistake. She said Storm must have chased a cat. She said huskies were wild like that. Each sentence sounded rehearsed, polished, ready. But something felt wrong. Storm had never tried to escape. Not once. Even when the gate was open. Even when fireworks exploded nearby. Even when another dog ran past. He waited for me. Always. That night, I didn't sleep. I refreshed lost dog pages every few minutes. I printed flyers. I replayed security footage again and again, watching the empty frame where Storm should have been. I kept expecting to see him trot back into view, tail high, proud of some adventure. Days turned into weeks. People told me to accept it, to move on. My sister told me my sadness was excessive. She told me I was embarrassing her by posting online so much. She even suggested maybe Storm was better off somewhere else. Those words cut deeper than she knew. I blamed myself. For leaving. For trusting her. For not hugging Storm longer before I went away. I imagined him alone, confused, waiting for me somewhere, wondering why I never came back. What I didn't know, what would haunt me later, was that Storm wasn't lost. He wasn't wandering the streets. He hadn't run away. He had been handed over to a stranger, by the person I trusted most. And the lie had only just begun. After the first week, hope became painful. Every morning I woke up expecting to hear Storm scratching at the door, his impatient husky howl demanding attention. Every night I listened for his footsteps in the hallway. The silence pressed against my chest until breathing felt like work. I kept searching, even when everyone else stopped. I walked miles every day, calling his name until strangers stared. I checked shelters, backyards, construction sites, any place a frightened dog might hide. I followed rumors that led nowhere. Someone thought they saw a husky near the highway. Another claimed one was living behind a warehouse. Each lead ended in disappointment. My sister watched all of this without flinching. She told me I was hurting myself by not letting go. She said I needed to be realistic. She suggested we get rid of Storm's bed, his bowls, his toys, said seeing them was unhealthy. When I refused, she rolled her eyes like I was a child throwing a tantrum. That's when the guilt started turning into something darker. I began replaying her words from before I left town. How she complained about the fur, the noise, the money. How she asked strange questions about huskies, how smart they were, how much attention they needed, how expensive they were to raise. At the time, I thought it was curiosity. Now, those memories felt sharp. One evening, I noticed Storm's leash was gone. Not misplaced.
Gone.
I asked her about it. She shrugged and said maybe I lost it. The answer came too quickly. Too smoothly. The same tone she used the day she told me he ran away. I started watching her instead of listening. She avoided my eyes when Storm's name came up. She changed the subject when neighbors asked questions. She deleted comments on my missing dog posts when people asked if anyone in the house might know more. At night, I heard her whispering on the phone. Short calls.
Urgent voices.
Words like money, done, and don't worry about it. Something inside me began to rot. The slow realization that my grief wasn't an accident. That my pain had been allowed, managed, controlled. One afternoon, while cleaning the garage, I found Storm's brush tucked inside a box behind old junk. The fur tangled and it was fresh. Not weeks old. Recent. My hands shook. If Storm had run away weeks ago, why was his brush hidden? Why wasn't it where it always was? I confronted her again. She snapped. She told me to stop obsessing. She said my behavior was pathetic. She accused me of choosing a dog over my own sister. Her voice cracked, not with guilt, but with anger. That was when I understood something terrifying. She wasn't sorry Storm was gone. She was annoyed that I hadn't forgotten him. That night, I sat on my bedroom floor surrounded by Storm's things, holding his collar in my hands, breathing in the faint smell of him that still lingered. I promised him, out loud, that I wouldn't stop looking. That I wouldn't let his disappearance be erased just because it was inconvenient. I didn't know yet how deep the betrayal went. I didn't know there were messages, money transfers, deals made behind my back. But I knew one thing with absolute certainty. Storm hadn't run away. And the person who knew the truth was sleeping comfortably down the hall. The truth didn't come to me in a dramatic confession or a moment of honesty. It came quietly, cruelly, the way real betrayals always do. My sister left her phone on the kitchen counter while she went to shower. I wasn't snooping. I wasn't suspicious enough yet for that. I was just making tea when the screen lit up with a notification. A single line of text appeared, glowing against the dark screen. Payment cleared. Thanks again. My chest tightened. I stared at the phone longer than I should have. My heart began to pound, not because I knew the truth, but because my body sensed it before my mind could accept it. I told myself it was none of my business. I told myself to walk away. Instead, my hand reached out. The phone wasn't locked. The message thread opened, and within seconds, my entire world collapsed. Photos loaded first. Storm. Not a similar dog. Not a coincidence. Storm, my husky. His white blaze slightly crooked down his face. His uneven blue eyes. The small notch on his ear from when he was a puppy and chewed through a fence wire. He was sitting on a different floor, in a stranger's house, looking straight at the camera.
Alive.
My vision blurred. I scrolled with shaking fingers, each movement feeling like a betrayal of my own denial. The messages went back months, back to the exact week Storm ran away. How old is he? Is he healthy? Any behavior issues? And then my sister's replies. Very calm. Good with people. Needs rehoming urgently. Urgently. I felt sick. Further down, there it was. A message that made my knees buckle. I need the money fast. Please don't waste my time. Below that, a screenshot of a transfer confirmation. The amount wasn't huge, but it was enough. Enough to cover something serious. Enough to explain the whispered phone calls, the tension, the sudden calm that followed Storm's disappearance. She hadn't panicked when he vanished. She had been relieved. I slid down against the counter, the phone heavy in my hands. My ears rang as if I'd been slapped. Every memory replayed itself with new meaning. Her calm voice, her impatience with my grief, her insistence that I move on. She hadn't just lied to me. She had watched me suffer and decided it was acceptable collateral damage. I kept reading. Messages about debts. About someone breathing down her neck. About how selling the dog was the only option left. About how I would eventually get over it. That sentence broke me. I imagined Storm waiting by the door for me. I imagined him being led away by a stranger, confused but obedient, trusting the wrong hands because that was all he knew how to do. I imagined him looking back, once, expecting to see me. And I wasn't there. The bathroom door opened. I didn't look up. She saw the phone in my hands and froze. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she sighed. Not in guilt, in exhaustion. Like I had finally uncovered an inconvenience she'd been managing for months. You weren't supposed to find out like this, she said. That was it.
No apology. No remorse.
Just confirmation. Storm hadn't run away. He had been sold. And the person who did it was standing right in front of me. Blood of my blood, looking annoyed that the lie had finally rotted through. I stood up slowly, the phone still in my hand, my fingers numb around it. My sister leaned against the counter like this was an overdue conversation about chores, not the moment she admitted to selling my Husky. Steam drifted from the bathroom, fogging the mirror behind her. Everything felt unreal, like the house itself was holding its breath. Say it again, I said. Tell me you didn't sell him. She crossed her arms. I didn't have a choice. Those words landed harder than any confession. Not I'm sorry. Not I was wrong. Just a justification, already polished, already practiced. I asked her where he was. She shrugged. With someone who can afford him. I asked her why she lied. She said lying was easier than dealing with my overreaction. Asked her how she could watch me search every day, posting flyers, begging strangers, blaming myself. She rolled her eyes and said, "You're too emotional." Then she said it. It was just a dog. The sentence hollowed me out. Storm wasn't just anything. He was the one who waited by the door every evening. The one who slept light so he could follow me if I moved. The one who pressed his head into my chest when the world felt too loud. I tried to explain that. I tried to make her see him the way I did.
She didn't want to see.
She told me about the debt like it was a weather report. Gambling that started small. Loans that grew teeth. Calls that didn't stop. She said people were threatening.
She said she panicked.
She said she saw Storm as the fastest way out. I asked her why she didn't ask me for help. She laughed. You would have chosen the dog over me. She wasn't wrong, and that truth scared her more than any creditor. To her, Storm had become proof that she was second place. Selling him wasn't just about money, it was about control. Erasing what she couldn't compete with. I told her to give me the buyer's contact. She refused. I told her I would go to the police. She told me I couldn't prove anything. That the messages were private. That the sale was rehoming. That people did it all the time. Her calmness was surgical. Each word cut with intent. I packed Storm's things that night. His leash, his bowl, his brush with the fresh fur I had found hidden.
I didn't know why.
Maybe I needed to hold evidence that he existed. That I hadn't imagined him. That love like that doesn't evaporate just because someone sells it. Before I left the room, I looked at my sister and asked one last question. Did he cry? For the first time, her expression shifted. Not to guilt, never that, but to discomfort. She looked away and said, "He made noise. Huskies do that." I nodded. That was enough. I moved out the next morning. I didn't tell my parents everything, not yet. I needed the truth to be clean, documented, undeniable. I needed to find Storm, or at least find where he ended up. I needed to know whether he was safe, or whether this betrayal had cost him more than a home. As I closed the door behind me, I realized something cold and permanent. My sister had paid her debt, but she had also chosen what she was willing to lose. And she had chosen me. Once I left the house, anger stopped being loud and became focused. I didn't cry anymore. I didn't replay arguments. I stopped asking why. Why didn't matter now. What mattered was Storm, where he was, who had him, and whether I could still reach him. I started with the only real trail left behind. Money. I copied every message I had seen on my sister's phone.
Dates. Times.
Usernames. Payment screenshots. I didn't know much about tracking people, but desperation makes you learn fast. I searched usernames across platforms. I checked forums, classifieds, adoption pages. I joined Husky owner groups and scrolled for hours, comparing photos, zooming in on markings, scars, eyes. Every Husky started to look like Storm. Every near match broke me all over again. Then I noticed something I had missed before. One of the payment screenshots showed a partial name, just enough to work with. I cross-checked it with the username from the chat. It took days, then weeks, but eventually a profile surfaced.
A man.
Middle-aged. Recently posted photos of a husky. My hands shook as I opened the images. At first glance, I wasn't sure. The lighting was different. The fur looked duller. He was thinner. But then I saw it, the crooked blaze on his face, the uneven eyes, the notch in his ear.
Storm.
I sat down on the floor and cried for the first time since finding the truth. Not because I was weak, but because he was alive, breathing, existing somewhere in the world. I wasn't chasing a ghost. I messaged the man. I kept it simple. I said I believed he had my dog. I said the dog was sold without my consent. I said I just wanted to know if Storm was safe. Hours passed. Then a reply came. He said he didn't know the dog was stolen. He said my sister told him I couldn't keep Storm anymore. He said Storm was difficult at first, howled at night, waited by the door, refused food for days. Reading that nearly broke me. I asked where he lived. He hesitated. He said Storm had settled in now. Said returning him would be hard. Said he had paid for him fair and square. I understood his position. I did. But Storm wasn't property to me. He wasn't a transaction. He was family. I told the man everything. I told him Storm never ran away. I told him I had searched for months. I told him how my sister sold him to clear secret debts. I sent photos, hundreds of them, from puppyhood to the week before I left town. I sent vet records with my name on them. I sent proof. Silence followed. For 2 days, I heard nothing. Those were the longest days of my life. I prepared myself for every outcome: rejection, legal battles, permanent loss. I reminded myself that even knowing Storm was alive was more than I had before. Then a message arrived. "I believe you," it said. He told me Storm still waited by the door every evening, still pulled toward cars that slowed down, still howled when he heard keys. He said, "I think he's been waiting for you." I stared at the screen, heart pounding. He sent an address. 3 hours away. I didn't sleep that night. I packed Storm's leash, his collar, his favorite toy, the one he used to carry around like a trophy. As dawn broke, I got in my car and started driving. For the first time since Storm disappeared, hope felt real. But I didn't know yet whether this journey would end in reunion, or whether I was about to lose him all over again. The drive felt longer than it was. Every mile carried a different fear. That Storm wouldn't recognize me. That he had bonded with someone else. That the man would change his mind. That I would arrive too late, not in time, not enough, not worthy anymore. I rehearsed what I would say if things went wrong. I prepared myself to beg, to walk away, to accept a goodbye I never wanted. When I finally pulled into the driveway, my hands were shaking so badly I had to sit in the car for a full minute before opening the door. The house was quiet, ordinary. No sign that my entire heart was standing somewhere inside. The man opened the door slowly. Before he could say a word, I heard it. A sound so sharp and raw it cut straight through my chest. Storm screamed. Not barked. Not howled. He screamed. Huskies are loud, but this sound was different. Panicked, desperate, broken wide open. His nails scraped across the floor. Something slammed against the door from the inside. The man turned, startled. He never. The door opened. Storm burst out like a force of nature. For a split second, he froze, eyes locking onto mine, his body trembling as if his brain needed time to catch up with his heart. Then he ran. Full speed.
No hesitation.
No doubt. He crashed into me, knocking me back a step, his front paws slamming into my chest, his entire body shaking violently. He cried, actually cried, "Hi, broken sounds pouring out of him as he licked my face, my neck, my hands, like he was afraid I would disappear again if he stopped touching me. I dropped to my knees and wrapped my arms around him. "I'm here," I kept saying. "I'm here. I'm here." His fur felt thinner, his body lighter, but his smell was the same. Home. He pressed his head under my chin, shaking, refusing to let go. Every time I loosened my grip even slightly, he tightened his, as if anchoring himself to me. The man stood quietly behind us. "I've never seen him react like that," he said softly. "He waits by the door, every day." I thought it was loyalty. I didn't realize it was grief. I couldn't speak. I could only breathe him in and feel the solid, living proof that love survives betrayal. Storm circled me once, twice, then sat directly on my feet, his old habit pinning me in place so I couldn't leave. When I laughed through tears, he howled in response, like he always used to, dramatic and proud. The man handed me the leash. "I don't want your money," he said. "He belongs with you." I thanked him more times than I can remember, not just for giving Storm back, but for caring enough to listen, for believing the truth when it would have been easier not to. The drive home was different. Storm sat upright in the back seat, eyes locked on me through the mirror the entire time. Every few minutes, he leaned forward and pressed his nose against my shoulder, just to make sure I was real. When we got home, he walked through the door slowly, sniffing every corner, every memory. Then, he went straight to my bedroom and curled up in his old spot like he had never left. I sat on the floor beside him until he fell asleep. That night, for the first time in months, the house wasn't quiet. It was alive. But as I watched Storm sleep, safe and whole, one truth settled heavily in my chest. I had my dog back, but I had lost my sister forever. Storm coming home should have fixed everything. That's what people think, that once the lost thing is returned, the damage rewinds itself. That love erases betrayal. That family ties automatically heal because time passes. It doesn't work that way. The night after Storm returned, I didn't sleep. Not because I was afraid he'd disappear again, but because my mind kept replaying everything that led us here. Every lie. Every calm explanation. Every moment my sister watched me break and decided it was acceptable. Storm slept peacefully beside me, rising and falling with steady breaths. Safe. Home. I should have felt complete. Instead, I felt clarity. In the following days, my parents found out the truth. Not the softened version. Not the rehoming misunderstanding. The truth. The messages. The money.
The debt.
The sale. My sister didn't deny it. She defended it. She said she was desperate. She said fear made her do it. She said I should understand. I understood perfectly. She was willing to sacrifice what I loved most to save herself. That understanding didn't bring forgiveness. It brought distance.
She tried to talk to me.
She said family should come first. She said people make mistakes. She said I was being cruel for holding this against her now that everything was fine. Everything wasn't fine. Storm flinched when keys jingled for weeks. He followed me so closely I tripped over him constantly. He woke up howling from dreams I couldn't see. Trauma doesn't vanish just because the ending improves. Neither does betrayal. I moved permanently. Changed my routine. Changed who had access to my life. My sister became someone I shared a last name with. Nothing more. No calls. No messages. No holidays together. When people asked, I kept it simple. She crossed a line she can't uncross.
Some judged me.
Some said I was overreacting. Some said, but she's your sister. I stopped explaining. Storm healed faster than I did. Animals don't lie to themselves. They don't justify cruelty. They trust actions, not words. Slowly he relaxed. His fur grew thicker. His eyes softened. His howls returned, not from fear, but from joy. Watching him heal taught me something important. Love is protection. Anyone who tells you to forgive without accountability isn't asking for peace. They're asking for permission. Anyone who minimizes your pain because it inconveniences them is not safe to keep close. My sister paid her debt. I paid attention. Months later, I found Storm's old collar in a drawer. I held it for a long time, thinking about how close I came to never seeing him again. How easily love can be sold when someone decides it's expendable. Storm rested his head on my knee, looking up at me with the same trust he always had. He didn't know about debts or lies or family betrayal. He only knew that I came back for him, and I always will. Some losses don't come with funerals. Some endings don't come with goodbyes. Some betrayals don't scream, they whisper, and by the time you hear them, something is already gone forever. I didn't lose my sister that day she sold my puppy. I lost her the moment she decided my love was negotiable. And that is a loss I will never try to recover from.